Why is Jordan Belfort so persuasive, and how can you use it in your B2B sales job? Today, I'm going to cover this topic in just a few minutes. There's a lot you can read about Jordan Belfort and his sales techniques. He writes about them in his book, The Way of the Wolf. We're going to review just one of those factors today, because in my opinion, it's by far the biggest and most persuasive factor that makes him influential when it comes to talking to people. And the best part is that we all do it already, and you could learn it in just the time it takes to watch this video. And of course, what I'm talking about is our tonality, or the pitch that we use when we're talking. It's that inflection in our voice that goes up and down depending on the topic and how we feel about a subject. Jordan Belfort is an interesting person to listen to because at all times, he's very intentional about the tonality he uses when he's talking about things. Most of all, communication is not what you say, but how you say it. When you're passionate or enthusiastic about something, that passion and enthusiasm transfers to your customer. When you're timid and you're not using the right tonality that demonstrates that you're very confident about what you're saying, that also comes off to your customer. So what's important to know is that we're already using these, right? It's not something that you necessarily have to learn. Think about when a teacher tells a story to a group of children. Is she very monotone with the same flat line the whole way through? No, because they realize that if they did, their students would be sleeping about 10 minutes into it. Instead, they emphasize the important parts of the story. They switch up their tonality throughout it to emphasize when big things are about to happen or parts that are very important for them to pay attention to. And they also switch up the speed at which they talk. For you and how you can use it in your B2B sales career, it's just like that. You don't necessarily have to memorize all the different tonalities that Jordan Belfort teaches about in his book, The Way of the Wolf, but try to be a bit more intentional when you say things. This is the best way to keep someone's attention and also transfer your energy positively to your client. So to give a few examples of how Jordan Belfort breaks down the different types of tonality, the first one is utter sincerity. Think of this as speaking calmly and confidently, talking to a friend that you genuinely want to help. Use this to build trust and rapport. If you remember in the movie, Jordan Belfort uses an utterly sincere voice when he calls somebody and they first get him on the phone. Hey John, how you doing today? How you might use it is when you're trying to convey a message where you want to come off as very honest. You might say, of course I believe it, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. When you want to build trust with somebody, you want to convey that tone that you are a very sincere person and you mean what you say. The next one is absolute certainty. So this is an easy one to understand. It's when you speak with conviction. When you're 100% confident on something and you want to transfer that energy of confidence to your prospect or your client. So if you think about the movie, how they use this is they would say, you put in a request with a huge upside with very limited downside. Or we are looking at a grand slam home run. The way you might use it is, listen, you're gonna love this. All of my clients always look back and they say, I cannot believe that we did it as long as we did without making this change. You just wanna convey the fact that you're very confident and you wanna use that at the appropriate time when you are confident that a client is gonna be very happy with your product. The next one is scarcity. This is perhaps the most challenging one to master. It's when you wanna portray something exclusive. How Jordan used it in his call was when he dropped his voice down. He says, reason for my call, John, something just came across my desk that is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd love to share it with you. Got a minute? So the way that you might use it is if a client asks for a discount or if you've negotiated a lower rate and they perhaps ask you how long that's gonna stay for. You wanna portray scarcity. And the way you might do that is, listen, I'm fairly certain that we'll be able to get this for the remainder of the quarter. Beyond that, I really can't make any promise. The next one we're gonna cover is the reasonable man. This is when you wanna speak collaboratively, raising your voice at the end of a sentence to imply a question. If you remember back to his movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, you remember it says, is that fair enough? See, what you're trying to portray there seems reasonable, right? How you might use this in your B2B sales pitch is you might say something like, to me it makes sense, but what do you think? The last tonality we're gonna cover is hypothetical money aside. What this is portraying is, listen, if all else was equal, would you go for it? Jordan often uses this tonality when he uses the phrase, but do you like the idea? You might utilize this when you want to focus on the product's value beyond just the price tag. So you might say something like, soon we can do that. Would you be interested in setting up a follow-up? Change up your speed, change up your tonality. When you're passionate about something, when you're confident in something, use that tonality when you're speaking. This will be the best way for you to keep your clients and prospects' attention and it'll make you a much more interesting person to speak to. No one likes to listen to a monotone person. Think about the teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That is not the tonality you want to go for. You want to go for the polar opposite of that, which is switching your voice up and down, use voice inflection to portray you're confident, to portray that it's a reasonable request, that it's scarce, and they should act now. If you're able to use all of these tones and you continue to practice them, record them, get better at them as you go, doesn't have to be perfect, but you'll be able to see a substantial improvement in your pitches and your presentations, your public speaking, whatever it is. You'll be able to capture your audience's attention. By being intentional with your tonality, you'll have people hanging on to every word when you're pitching, telling a story, or doing a motivational speech. You'll come off as an expert, transferring your confidence, and become much more enjoyable to listen to. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and click the link below to hear the script that I use to secure next steps in 5 minutes. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, if you're not helping, you're not selling.